Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the workshop meeting of the Village of Ruidoso. It is October 5th, 2021, 8 a.m. If you'll join me for a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico, the Zia symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures.
All right, good morning, everyone. Hopefully your day started off excellent. It's going to be a great day today. So we want to go ahead and get started. And so Ron is out today. He's getting all educated, and we don't know in what exactly in Oregon. We hope they don't poison him too bad, and hopefully he gets back alive. But we could have a roll call, please. Who's filling in today? All right, Yvonne.
Mayor Crawford,
Here.
Councilor Salas,
Here.
Councilor Letterman,
Here.
Councilor Eby,
She's ready to go.
Councilor Cornelius,
Here.
Councilor Coughlin,
Here.
Councilor Jackson.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right. So is Councilor Coughlin in beautiful Roswell?
No, I'm in Scottsdale, Arizona.
Ooh, nice.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I'm so happy for you.
Oh, me too. A sunburn.
All right, and we'll start off with today's agenda items, and this is a workshop just to remind everyone that there won't be any decisions made here today except for if they're on the consent or regular items. Item number 1 is discussion on adoption of Resolution 2022-44, a resolution authorizing the observance of the Christmas holidays and the corresponding pay dates in respect to the holidays observed in November and December 2021. Is this Judy?
Yes, Mayor. Councilors, this is a resolution on how to handle the holidays. As you know, in November for the Thanksgiving holiday, we are off the Thursday and the Friday. And this year, Christmas Eve falls on a Friday and a Saturday. So our policy reads that if a holiday falls on a Saturday, it's moved to the Friday. So Christmas Day, which is on Saturday, would move to Friday, but then Christmas Eve, which was on Friday, will now move to Thursday. So both in November and December for those holidays, the village will be closed on Thursdays and Fridays. That Thursday and Friday, for people that work a 40-hour week, if you're on a different schedule like public service, then the holidays will actually fall on the regular the actual true holiday. But the other kicker that was in this year's pay schedule is that those two Fridays are both payday Fridays. So in the past, when that has happened and the village is closed on the Friday, we usually pay the employees on the Wednesday before. So we just wanted some direction on how to handle the holidays and the corresponding pay dates. So right now we are proposing that pay dates will be on the Wednesday before the two holiday weekends. So we just wanted to make sure that's the goal of the council.
Okay.
I think that's great.
That's how it was back when I was here in the day.
Okay.
It just made sense that we got paid there.
Mm-hmm.
Because wasn't it last year that on Thanksgiving, I kind of
Yes.
remembered that.
Yes, on Thanksgiving,
paid on
it fell on
Fridays,
a payday too, so we paid on the Wednesday.
Yeah.
Is that going to be a consent item, or do you want to discuss it?
Consent.
Okay. Item number 2, discussion on a monthly base rate reduction for wastewater treatment plan fee.
Mayor, can we defer this one to the end of the agenda, and if I can ask Isaac to come in as well?
Sure. Okay, we'll move that one down to later. Item number 3, discussion,
Isaac over here?
discussion, pardon me, discussion on first renewal agreement with Bell Gas Inc., RFP number 2017-00B, 5B, automated fuel dispensing service.
It's the first renewal. I say consent.
Okay?
Yeah.
Consent?
Yep.
Gotcha. Item number 4, discussion on grant agreement with the New Mexico Aging and Long-Term Services Department on legislative capital appropriation, A20E 5242, for renovations to the Ruidoso Community Center in Ruidoso in Lincoln County in the amount of $44,077.
You must like being torn up over there.
It's been going on a year at least, hasn't it? Straight?
Yeah, Mayor Crawford, members of the council. The $44,000 is a grant from the New Mexico Aging and Long-Term Services Department to replace the ceiling tiles installation and LED lighting in the center. The ceiling tiles in there are outdated, they're old. There's actually mold in them and stuff. So we got the rooftop done, so we just wanted to apply for the funds to redo the interior of it now. So the $44,000 is, we found out that it's not going to be enough to cover the entire area. So what I did is I went back to the New Mexico Aging and Long-Term Services Department and applied for more funding from them, emergency funding. And that is going to be coming through to back that up. So that way we have enough to do the entire project. So that's exciting for us.
What was the total amount of the project?
I think it was $70-some thousand is what it was going to turn out to be. I had to apply for another 30,000.
And this for the entire building or just for the dining room meeting area?
Fortunately, the dining room area, whenever they redid the rooftop, the dining room area was redone with ceiling tiles and all that, because the debris that fell into the area as they were fixing everything, they had ended up replacing. They were just going to clean it all out, but we just ended up buying new ones and they put them back in. And the LED lighting is actually going to be the entire center though. So.
Does P&M still have any money for LED lighting? Have you checked into that?
Yes, I did. We actually got a quote from P&M to do the LED lighting. There was a difference in the way they were going to do it though. P&M was going to take the ballasts out and put LED lighting in. They only leave 2 tubes of lighting in there. But whenever we went through White Sands Construction to try to get a quote from them, they were going to actually leave the 4 in there. So it was going to be just the same price to get them to do the 4 versus P&M with the savings doing the 2. So depending on where we end up with this deal, when we finally get all the entire amount of funding, those are 2 things that we can look at with the funding that we get.
Hey, Anthony, I have both setups. Stick with the 4. The 2 there's the definite difference.
Yes, sir, Councilor Coughlin. Yes, and I thought of that. I didn't want to take lighting away from the area because a lot of stuff that we do requires a lot of lighting in there, and there's so I agree with that. That's why I kind of looked at both areas to see which one would be best, and I agree.
Okay. Regular item, you want to talk about it or consent?
Consent.
Good?
Thank you all.
Okay, thank you, Anthony. Discussion of T-hanger agreement between the Village of Ruidoso, Sierra Blanca Regional Airport, and John Christie for Charlie 6 T-hanger beginning October 1st. Yes, sir, Mr. Kasabowski.
Mr. Mayor, Council, I'm going to go ahead and present this one this year. I'm just showing this go around. I'm showing Austin, the new manager, how to make the presentations at the council meeting. So this is just a standard T-hanger agreement between the Village of Ruidoso and John Christie for Charlie 6 T-hanger.
Okay, and we love show and tell, Austin, so welcome. Does everybody know Austin?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, good. So this is just the boilerplate?
Yes, sir.
Okay, So consent, everyone?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Joe. Item number 6 is discussion of memorandum of understanding between the County of Otero, City of Alamogordo, Village of Ruidoso, City of Ruidoso Downs, 12th Judicial District Attorney, and the County of Lincoln to develop, implement, and operate a drug enforcement task force to be named the White Mountain Drug Task Force. Is this you, Lieutenant?
I believe so. Do you want me to start?
Well, there's really nothing to report. Has anything been changed on it that we know of?
No, sir, we do have an MOU with them, and they help us out with any narcotic investigations. So,
Okay.
and they also help out with funding due to overtime when we conduct those investigations.
Okay, and as of right now, we still don't have anyone dedicated to it, do we?
No, sir, but we do, as soon as they ask, we help out. Officers are always looking for that type of overtime.
Okay.
So it's always available to them.
Okay, very good. Any questions? Go ahead.
Lieutenant Urban, is this the kind of the same thing as what happened a couple of weeks ago when we had the shooting in Cedar Creek? And I know that that's county, but, you know, a lot of forces got together. Is that something on the same order as this MOU?
It kind of falls under it. We kind of tend to lean towards more of the narcotic side
Okay.
with this.
So that was county, so really the Ruidoso Police.
Right, being
was
that we're
just-
so close, we responded and
Okay.
just assisted.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Consent item?
Consent, yeah.
Item number 7, discussion of amendment number 1 to professional service agreement RFP 2021-011 P with Miller Engineers, Inc., DBA Sauder Miller and Associates for additional professional engineering services on the Pine Cliff Subdivision Street, Water, and Sewer Systems Improvement Project in the amount of $32,012.84, including New Mexico GRT. Yes, sir.
Mayor, Council, this is just some extra services to be provided by Miller Engineering for the Pine Cliff subdivision, some roads that were not called out during the original RFP.
Okay. So it wasn't included in the original.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I don't know that it matters at 16 cents, but your numbers don't match up here on the financial impact.
Okay, I'll get with Karen and we'll work that out.
16 cents, I know you're trying to get to us, but
Somebody's calculator's off.
Okay. Do you want to discuss it or consent?
Mayor, I'd say regular agenda.
Okay.
There's a lot of people that are going to be interested in that.
Okay, fine with everybody? Thank you, Adam. Discussion on adoption of Resolution 2021-45, a resolution allowing participation in local government transportation project fund program administered by the New Mexico Department of Transportation and for approval of project number, control number LP 20006 for Village of Ruidoso and County of Lincoln roadway improvements in the amount of $3,500,000. Yes, ma'am.
This is a resolution is required by DOT for implementation of the grant.
Okay. We've been talking about this one for a while lately, so
yeah. I'm amazed that you got it together on it with everybody involved.
well, they're all eager, and I tell you,
Good.
yeah,
That's pretty
the
sure.
county and Ira and those guys are working real well. So I know it's, and we're just waiting on that company Cutler, right? So when they're in the area, they'll be getting after it.
But it'll be next spring, right?
Yes, Mayor, we're looking at, in the upcoming months, you'll be seeing agenda items like a letter allowing us to piggyback off the state price agreement. And then, we're going to be procuring materials and working with Cutler to get an agreement in place so that we can proceed with this project in early to mid-spring timeframe.
And we're the fiduciary agent for this?
That's correct.
I asked that last time, I think. Okay, so discussion? Regular item?
Regular.
Okay, awesome. Number 9 is discussion on approval of memorandum of agreement between the Village of Ruidoso and the County of Lincoln related to grant agreement project award control number LP 20014 for roadway improvement on Gavilan Canyon. So another regular.
Yes.
Item number 10 is discussion on award of RFP number 2022-001P, solicit offers for the purchase or to solicit applications from developers and/or qualified grantees for the purpose of selling or development of Village of Ruidoso-owned properties to benefit affordable housing program to Mesa Apartments LLC as qualified grantee. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. We had one respondent to this RFP, and we'll be bringing the recommendation before you all next Tuesday. And we do have a housing meeting this Thursday afternoon, and so we'll be presenting to them as well, so they're aware.
And I saw most of your commissioners were able to make it, your board members?
Seemed about half and half.
Half and half is all?
It's a special meeting with a short notice, so
Right, okay.
understandable.
Mayor, if I may, with this RFP, it's a very unique type of RFP. And when you look at our affordable housing plan, there's a process for identified qualified grantees and making sure that they go through the checklist to make sure that they are what's considered a qualified grantee in accordance with the rules from the New Mexico Mortgage Finance Authority. So we've taken that process and combined it with an RFP to put out, several different properties so that if there were anybody that was interested throughout the community that saw the properties that we had available and they wanted to develop, then they could do so and propose to either purchase or
Make an offer.
or do something, make some type of offer on that property. So it's opened up those properties to anybody, not just the qualified grantees. We still have additional qualified, people that have worked in other areas that have been reaching out to us as of lately. This doesn't prohibit other qualified grantees from being certified with the Village of Ruidoso. So I just want to put that out there because there's been quite a bit of interest as of lately, not just here in Ruidoso, but statewide. Samantha, myself, and Ron sat in a meeting last week where the CDBG Council had extra money from the Recovery Act that people had not applied for the the utility funds and whatnot. So they took that money and they awarded, $4 million to a homeless shelter type of project in Santa Fe. And, they're anticipating more funds coming down to help with, housing projects statewide. In addition to that, Samantha had submitted an additional request for the Town and Country project and received an additional $60,000 for that project. So,
Nice.
that's why we were involved with that meeting. But I just want to let you know that by awarding this qualified grantee to this developer doesn't prohibit us from naming other qualified grantees as we consider proposals coming forward.
Tim, do they have a project in mind, or they just want to look still?
They do have a project in mind that they would like to propose, and then they're evaluating other properties, just like some of the other properties that we had provided information to Chelsea. We've provided those so that they can reevaluate it. Oftentimes, these qualified developers have different financial approaches or in different financial backers. And one interesting conversation that we had was with Yes Housing. Yes Housing is another qualified grantee that's doing a lot of work in Roswell. I think they actually have one project they're kicking off in Roswell this year. They have several projects in Hobbs, And then the project that was of interest to me is the one that they actually proposed in Albuquerque. Albuquerque ended up working with them on a mixed development where part of it's commercial, and then you have a live-work upstairs, and then in the back of the property, they have workforce housing that is, 60 to 120% LMI. So very interesting. It's really changing on the way that they're approaching it. The tax credit programs are very minimal in comparison to some of the other financial resources that are coming out. So, we intend to continue working hard on this and entertaining other developers as they come forward.
Okay, it sounds good. Maybe we'll get somebody that's a little more workable than Tim Baker and Chelsea.
What's LMI?
Low to moderate income, it's based off your medium household income. And then it's a percentage of that, like the 30% LMI is the very low income and 60 is medium, so.
That may help us get it approved in some neighborhoods too.
Oh, I'd say regular.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yep.
Mayor, I'd recommend this one for regular.
Yep.
Yes.
I think that's what Joe said. By the way, Joe, you look awesome in green, man. I mean, it's your color. It really is. Item number 11, that'd be exciting news, Tim. Good job on getting these folks in and Sam. Item number 11 is discussion on third renewal agreement with Mosen Corbin and Associates for professional engineering services for RFP number 2018-008P. It's a general obligation bond water projects phase 3 in Upper Canyon surface diversion structure. Yes, sir, Mr. Boyda.
Mayor Crawford, councilors. So this renewal is a little bit kind of non-traditional. So what had happened is we had designed our general obligation bond projects under this grant. And so it included Paradise Canyon, lateral lines, Pine Cliff, and then Adam, what was the third one in this? It was Hemlock Circle 2. So we had finished constructing Hemlock Circle 2, and then we paused the other projects while we looked at leveraging the general obligation bonds for other funding opportunities. So that's how we switched one of our priorities to town and country so that we could apply for, and we were awarded the CDBG grant. So Pine Cliff is going to be our next CDBG area. And so because this contract did not include sewer in the RFP, it was re-advertised, and then that was awarded to Sauder and Associates. So we had one project left, Paradise Canyon, and because of the grant to repave Paradise Canyon, that's pushed this project to be a priority. And so we're renewing this agreement. None of the parties expressed interest to get out of the agreement. And we've already got a design mostly done. They're wrapping it up. We'll be ready to go with this project by the end of the month to advertise so that we can get this constructed before we do paving in the spring. So this will be, we're just moving forward with the Paradise Canyon with this renewal.
Okay, so it has nothing to do with the diversion?
No. So there's not enough time to do a design, advertise, build with the remaining amount of time on this contract. And so that Upper Canyon surface diversion is part of the RFP that we're going to be advertising.
Okay. Okay, any questions? We suggest we talk about it?
I'd say regular.
Regular? Okay, regular. Item number 12. Thank you, Eric. Item number 12 is discussion on adoption of Resolution 2021-46, a resolution authorizing and approving the submission of a completed grant loan agreement application, good grief, for financial assistance to the New Mexico Finance Authority Water Trust Board for fiscal year 2022. Mr. Boyda.
Mayor Crawford, councilors, so for this fiscal year 2020 or 2022 Water Trust Board funds, we're going to be applying for our third and final phase of the Eagle Creek Wellfield Improvement Project. And so that includes the Alto 3 and Alto 4 wells, which are the two wells that are below the reservoir. Neither of them have been equipped in their lifetime. So our Eagle Creek Wellfield Phase 2 was the highest scoring proposal of last year in our category. And so I felt it was appropriate for us to reapply with this final phase. It should score fairly high. And so we're going to be requesting $659,000 for, or $659,400 from the Water Trust Board, which would be a 40% grant, 10% loan of that quantity.
Okay. That'd be great. Any more questions?
And then we would pay the 300,000.
Correct. So
Okay, yeah.
we already have the whole budget for this is approved out of SGRT. So even if we don't get this, we'll still be moving forward with the project and we have it all budgeted.
Wouldn't want to advertise that too much.
Hey, Eric, did I hear you say it's a 40-10%?
Yeah, so it's of the amount that's being awarded, 40% of it is grant, and then 10% of it, okay, yeah, you're right, that's sounding stupid.
Yeah. Yeah, where's the other?
Like 50%.
Yeah, so I apologize, it's, I'm sorry, so that's what the numbers were for the last one, because we matched 50% of it, and then we had a loan. This is gonna be, I'll have to get the numbers for it, but I believe it's 10% of the amount that we're requesting has to be a loan.
Yes, it's around 10%. But again, this project's already budgeted, so we'll just turn around and pay it off similar to the last one.
Mayor, just a new terminology, they call these groans.
Groans?
Yes, grant loans.
Loans.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so discussion, regular.
Mayor, I did have a question for Eric, if I may, Mayor.
Yeah, absolutely.
Eric, remind me, where are we at with looking at the reuse water and starting to apply for some funds to, maybe capture some of that and put it back to use?
So we were gonna work in the reuse into our master planning strategy and get it into the total CIP. If you would like us to move forward, I mean, the costs, I mean, the lowest cost solution in our reuse estimate was, I think it was like $10 million for a project. And so we can, we still have time, we can add that to the water resource RFP to help us move forward with those projects.
Mayor, one of the reasons I bring that up, and it's related even to the item that we deferred to later in the agenda, there's a lot of different pots of money out there with the Clean Water Revolving Loan Fund and even more money that's going to be coming down. So, I bring that item up because I think it's ideal time for us to start getting shovel ready on a lot of these projects that we're talking about. And, I just think that right now is the time that we need to really look at all the different grant opportunities out there and continue to make an effort to bring in as much grant money as possible.
Okay. Everybody agree? Mm-hmm. Okay, so we'll, so you'll have the additions to that, Mr. Boyda, for next week? So we'll know what those
Yeah, I'll do the calculations quick for the groan.
Okay. Okay. All right. That'll be regular. Item number 13, discussion on adoption of Resolution 2021-47, a resolution authorizing and approving the submission of a completed grant application for financial assistance to the United States Department of Interior, Bureau of Reclamation, WaterSmart, Water and Energy Efficiency Grants for fiscal year 2022.
So Mayor Crawford, councilors, last year we applied for this Bureau of Reclamation WaterSmart fund, and we applied under the large project fund, and we requested $2 million. And we scored well in some sections, but not to compete for $2 million. So we had a after-action debrief with the Bureau of Reclamation, and they recommended that we should try to apply for their smaller fund, which is capped at $500,000. And so we're just doing some minor modifications to last year's application, and we'll put it back out for the smaller amount. This would be used in combination for Pine Cliff and Paradise Canyon. So Paradise Canyon will be leverage for the grant. So it would actually be, we're looking for the $500,000 to put into our Pine Cliff project that we're proposing for the CDBG grant application in next cycle.
Okay.
Just real quick, what is a lateral replacement?
So in Paradise Canyon, there's a large water main that goes on one side of the road. And on that street, there's 2-inch laterals that come off of that line. And then it serves the households, and then each lateral serves 2 households.
Okay.
So in Paradise Canyon, those are the galvanized steel is what the laterals are made out of. And that's the kind of the number one material that's caused us issues with leaking.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so we'll have that on regular.
Yep.
Item number 14 is discussion on contract for RFP number 2022-009P with Riverbend Engineering LLC for professional engineering for watershed projects.
So Mayor Crawford, councilors, so this one is going to be, this is out of order. So that the last 3 items need to be in a specific order. So number 15 will actually be the first one, and then number 14, and then number 16. I apologize about that.
Okay. Any questions?
No, I just wanted to make a comment. As I read through these, Eric, I just think it needs to be said that there was a lot of extra effort given to get those grants done, and then reestablishing, and not uncommonly, the meeting after the meetings where the work's really done. So there's just wanted to thank you for all the extra efforts that you gave, especially for grants of this sum.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so you're saying that this one's out of order, so you'll move it down after the following one?
Yeah, so the first one is going to be item number 15, the award of the RFP, then the award of the contract,
Okay,
and then task order 1.
Mayor, on these, we're just discussing them today, so, Yvonne can make a note of that and then put them in the correct order, and then I'd recommend them for regular, since they're out of order on this agenda.
right. Okay, so we'll do, and then you said the task order would be the last one?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, you got that, Yvonne?
I got it.
Okay, so then that'll all be regular. Okay. And now we'll move back. Are we ready for the last item?
Did you want to give an explanation on this, Eric?
I was ready for it, but the mayor is ready to get out of here.
I was a little confused there,
So are we on number 15, or where are we?
16. Well, 15's a given. It's
Yeah.
So I guess he just wants to talk about the 45,000.
Yeah, so, we've had a good relationship with Riverbend Engineering, working on watershed and river-related projects. So for the task order number 1 for this new RFP, we are looking at the drainage at Village Hall. So there is some drainage issues around Village Hall, particularly in the front of the building. And so we're going to look at regrading the area to get good positive drainage away from our building and make sure it goes around the side of the building. And then because of the new additions and increased capacity of the building, we'll be looking at doing a minor parking lot expansion on the south side of the building in that open grassy area. So this will give us the civil engineering design for around the building. We'll do the design and bid phase, and then the construction observation will be a follow-up task order based on how comfortable we feel with staff doing most of the observation.
I'm confused. This will be the first time that Boyda has said he wants to take up grass and put down pavement.
Well, it's a watershed of a different kind.
It is, I guess.
Different color.
Okay.
But at least this new parking lot will have a stormwater catchment basin on the downstream side, and we'll catch that first flush.
Nice.
Okay.
Mayor, Mayor and Council, we're also looking at, doing some demonstration on water harvesting and how we deal with that as well.
Yeah, so since some of the improvements will be on the back side of the building, and some of it's going to be we're conveying water from the front of the building parking lots to the back side is where we'll actually infiltrate it down. So right along that hiking path, we'll be able to put in some educational signage and actually show people what we're doing.
Oh, I like that. Like it.
On a different note, or related, with the additional offices and everything there, did we do any consideration of expanding our parking lot there? I didn't think about that till now. If we're redoing just what we got, there was no additional.
Mayor, Councilor, in the current contract, no, it was just internal.
Okay.
So this project is considering the additional spaces needed as well.
Oh, okay. That's what I was getting at.
Right off the entrance, it would be going, it's on the south end of the building.
Correct. So, it might be something, that maybe we make a parking lot that's just for work trucks or something, because we'll have quite a bit more village fleet with the addition of the staff from the annex. So, we'll work out those details, but basically, right as you turn in, if you would turn right to the normal parking lot, there'll be a left turn into that open area, and we'll have another.
Southwest, down
Yeah.
towards the walking trail to links.
Correct.
Yeah.
Kind of where the construction staged right now.
There will be more larger vehicles.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be nice. And you can include a private mayor's parking spot back there, since he's there like 10 minutes a day, get in and get out.
I think that was valet that we were looking at.
Yeah, there's valet, I'm sorry.
It's gonna have a sidewalk to the back door too.
Yeah, good.
You have to walk through the mud.
Okay. And so not to exceed 45,165.
And that this was money that was not budgeted for. And so with this approval, you'll be authorizing us to, Judy, do you want to cover this? We need to figure out where we're paying this from.
But I think Judy still has money budgeted in the City Hall project.
Okay. So this will just be any of the residual from the Village Hall project to go towards this.
Okay. All right, thank you. Now we'll move back to item number 2. Discussion on monthly base rate reduction for wastewater treatment plan fee.
Mayor and councilors, I was tasked to come up with some options that we could do for the wastewater treatment plant. As I started to look back on the history of how the plant became, I noticed that in 2009, they had issued some USDA loans and some other sources of revenue to get that built. And the original rate was set at that debt service annual amount of about, it was $1.7 million of debt service that treatment plant was paying at that time. However, in 2013, the bonds and the loans were refinanced, and for a considerable amount less than what the original interest rates were. And so in 2013, the debt service payment went down to about $700,000. So it was a savings of about $1 million in debt service payments a year that the village was actually saving. So in looking at the history from those years forward, I looked back at fiscal year 18 through 21, which determined that the actual yield off that fund was about $1 million in addition to that $1 million savings in debt service. So although our actual operating needs went down, the rate was not adjusted accordingly at that time. So I believe, and I don't know the whole story, but I believe when it was first built, there was some kind of public notice made that after a certain time, the rate would go down from, I believe it started about $32 per month down to around $20, I believe it was. However, that practice never took effect. So that rate in 2008, which started at $32,000, has now grown to $43 per month. So there's some actual savings that we could possibly take to reduce the rate. If you would just take the savings alone in the debt service and amortize it over the total number of accounts, and I believe there's 6,000 accounts approximately, is that right? From what I looked at, we could try to figure out the 1.7 million savings. Oh, well, let me scoot back. The actual ending cash balance in the fund is like $12 million. So that is actually split between us and Rio Doso Downs because of the JPA, where we pay 85% of the operating costs and they pay 15%. So when I back out their share of the cash, we end up with 12.4 million, that's our money. And out of that money, there's 1.1 million that is set aside in a debt reserve fund. And usually those are set up to pay your last year's principal and interest payments. So our amount of operational cash that we have is about $11.3 million. So if we look at the total bonds that are outstanding, which is a Series 2013 GO bond issue and a 2013 wastewater revenue bond. These two bonds have always been paid out of the revenues of the treatment plant, so we've never had to tap into our GO bonds in order to pay it back. So they've always been an operational cost of the treatment plant. So if we take out those balances that are due now, it comes out to 8.3 million. However, at this point, we can't pay off the loans right out at this time. Our next payment is in January. We pay principal and interest in July, and then just interest in January. They are actually callable or an opportunity to pay off the debt in July of 2023. But when you look at what we have outstanding right now and what our obligations are from now to July of 2023 to pay off, it's about $7 million. So since we have $11.3 million, we could take some of that money, pay off the debt, or put it in a fund that will eventually pay off the debt in July, have no more debt service payments out of the fund, out of operations, and we would still have some monies that would be set aside for an equipment reserve of about $2.5 million, which when I got here, that was the magic number that they had said that if we had to replace filters and everything, it would cost about $2.5 million. In the past, we had been earmarking also the match on the sewer line to the FEMA fund out of some of this catch, and it would be around $2.5 million. So we could actually take some of the cash, pay off the debt, and then we would be able to restructure the rate and bring it down by almost $1 million. So if you took $1 million and divided it by 6,000 accounts that are billed monthly, you could probably bring it down between $14 and $15 a month. And that's just a rough calculation, but I'm pretty comfortable because in the original ordinance that I saw, in 2010, the rate was supposed to go down to like 1907 or something. The other kind of kicker, and we might be able to pull off a little bit more, is that base rate is adjusted for CPI each year.
Right.
So for 28 till now, it's already increased about 30%. So not only do you have a high rate, but then you have an accumulating or doubling effect with the CPI. So the only thing that is missing out of this base calculation or formula or methodology is that I am not sure what the outlay would be on the treatment plant if we had to man those other two basins. And I don't know if our usage will ever be there. I don't know if we're close to that. That's the only thing that's kind of the unknown. But I think just the savings on the debt alone, you would be able to reduce the rate.
Okay, so what we're talking about is being able to possibly do a debt reduction between 14, 17, whatever dollars a month, and then take extra funds and put it in to pay off the debt in 2023. And then potentially in a year whenever we get through with the rate study and the comprehensive plan, that there might be the ability to take a further reduction at that point?
Yes, Mayor.
Maybe.
Mayor, you know what, the numbers I've been looking at, and, you know, there's a couple of different opportunities that I've seen is, you know, right now under the American Recovery Act, we still have, you know, 1.9 of funds that we haven't dedicated on what we're going to utilize them for. Judy and I are setting up a meeting with DFA to talk about that. One of the things that we've seen is the communities are using those for water and wastewater projects. So when it comes to the 2.5 that we're matching against the FEMA, we may be able to utilize that to offset some of it. So I would, you know, in addition to looking at the current balance or cash reserves that we've established, the 12 million in the wastewater funds, I'd recommend that we do consider putting some money from the general fund into that. We've built up some cash balance in there. We also still have some windfall from the CARES fund, you know, right about 800,000, Judy?
About
700,000. In addition to that, on the general fund right now, we're trending, you know, right about 700,000 over on revenues as a result of the changes that we've seen in the GRT, and then our settlement to about 250. So we have some general fund dollars that we can use to offset that as well. The numbers and my recommendation is what we would consider, Mayor, is not doing a complete reduction, but doing a suspension of right about $17 off of the base fee until
Pending the
the
study and the comprehensive?
Yes. You know, pending the comprehensive master plan and the rate study.
Well, and I think we've looked at this many times before, but I just think with the GRT improvements and all the things that we've done, and then with the forecasting from our natural gas provider, ZIA,
Yeah.
that what's going to happen to our ratepayers, to our citizens here in town, that I think it would be beneficial to all. I mean, it only sounds like $17, so what? But when you couple that with a $40 to $50 kicker on your gas bill every month, that could be, you know, that stuff adds up.
So we pay 43 now, and so that'd be, if we took 17 off, that'd be around $26 per month.
Correct, the wastewater treatment plant.
But it'd get the total bill right around 100.
Yes,
That'd be off the user fee.
yes, yes.
Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Tim sent me some stuff last night that I'm not sure I understood on the, is it deference?
So defeasance, so that is just paying the bonds off at the callable date. What George and Hilltop had provided was 7 different options. If we didn't want to defease the whole issues, then you would need X amount of dollars. If you did one and not the other, then it affected the dollars. But I think it's the consensus of the council that we want to pay both issues off. Is that kind of
Yes. I think
understanding?
Yeah, we're always doing other things. It'd be nice if we are paying off debt.
Yeah.
So would that money go into some kind of interest bearing?
Yes.
Or is it already at an interest bearing account?
It's an interest bearing, but as you know, interest rates
No
are
interest,
horrible.
yeah.
So even though the outstanding debt that we would have to pay is like 8.3 million, we'll still have to put in about $7 million in order for the, at the current rate, for it to grow to the 8.3 in, that we'll need by the end of the terms of the bonds.
And y'all remember when we restructured that debt, it's been some years back,
Yes.
but just off the difference in interest that we were being charged, we
Yes.
saved over $1 million
Yes.
Annually.
annually. Yeah, so those are coming due 2023.
Yes, sir.
How fast time flies. I thought
Yeah,
it
it
would
is.
never get here.
Well, that's not the end of them, that's just the call date. They go on, one goes on till 2027 and the other one goes to 30.
30. Okay.
Well, Mayor, I'm very happy that you got this on the agenda because this is something I've been kicking around for 10 years based on, history, knowing and when first serving on the council, that was the number one question was, when are you going to lower the rates? So I'm really happy on this and, I'm hesitant, or I'm glad you came up with that suggestion, Tim, of suspending. I like that, because again, as we talked, if we lower it in 5 years, all of a sudden we're bumping it up. But this would give to the community the opportunity, look, we are managing the fundings right, and, this is just, suspension. And I don't know how long that'll take. A year, 2 years for that study to be done. But then also what John has always been advocating is that we're adding new customers. I mean, they're in my neighborhood, Town and Country and stuff. And that was the question that I had this morning, because once we do the suspended fee rate, whatever that is, as a new customer come in, they will enter at that fee, not at the pass rate, is what I'm assuming, because that just only makes
That's
it
correct.
fair for,
Yes.
They'll be paying their part of.
they'll be
loan,
paying their
so
part, yeah.
it'll accumulate faster.
Yeah.
Right.
Mayor, Councilor Salas, just kind of getting to your point on how long it's going to take, right now, we had the initial discussion on combining the master plans and the rate studies back in April. And then in June, the council approved the RFP. And we are publishing that, and it goes live on the 8th. Eric, is that correct? Or 7th?
Yes, so this Friday, the 8th, is when it's being advertised.
So, from there, we're probably looking, at least another 30 to 60 days to get it under contract. For the kickoff, it'll be a multidisciplinary contract and multi-award that we'd be recommending. And then I would assume we're probably another at least year out on the master planning and at least 6 months on the rate studies. So I would say 2 years before, it'd be a 2-year suspension at least that we'd be looking at on the rates.
Okay.
When could we suspend it?
We would have to do that through a formal action,
Okay.
and we'll look at the recommendations from Hilltop and Judy, and we'll present It probably has to be done by ordinance, so what we'll do is come back to, at the
For
next
suspension,
meeting.
it would have to be by ordinance?
I believe so. It could be done by resolution, but I think we need to talk to our bond counsel.
And that was who was calling.
Yeah, so we need to have those discussions. We'll do that this week, and we'll either bring a recommendation for an ordinance publication to the next meeting or a formal resolution.
Yeah, the sooner the better, that'd be
Yeah.
great. I mean,
And can we at least,
If we have an ordinance in support of the funding, the debt service, that if we were to change it, I guess we would need to.
right.
Yeah, so when would George have?
I think the rates are in an Appendix U, and I thought we just changed those by resolution, and I think we moved them to Appendix so that it would be easier for us to change the rates, but that we could have it within a few days by the next meeting. I'm sure we could have a resolution if that's the way we need to go.
That would be good.
if it has to be an ordinance, we need to get the public hearing
Yeah.
on this council meeting,
Yeah,
or the,
We'll have an action item worked out either way, either
Yep.
by resolution, if it or it calls for an ordinance, and we'll change this item to reflect the ordinance process.
Isaac, just touch briefly on what you think as far as population base and serving it with the additional 2 bays. What's your time frame look like?
So the plant is 10 years old now, and we've been running pretty well. But now we do have a good amount of spare parts for every piece of equipment out there. But what we're seeing is aging infrastructure, such as our fine screens that I do want to upgrade. The 2 basins that we have for the future would be great to get online, as where we've been neglecting basins that we would have to drain and clean out completely, which would take a contract company to come in. What I would like to see is maybe, as to not get hit all at once for those future basins, is to start maybe on the next budget period and maybe start putting in the piping at one point, maybe the diffusers at one point, then the blowers, and then get it all tied in. That way, we can put the flow to those basins and really troubleshoot and really maintain all the other ones that have been online for the 10 years now. I'm finding that with the sewer rehabilitation project that we are getting a stronger influence, and I'm still meeting permit, but I'm seeing that we're using more chemical to get our phosphorus down, as well as our nitrogen we're doing okay on, but I see that as a challenge in the future. We do get our new permit next year, and hopefully they don't try to lower it on us, because we've been doing really good meeting it. But if they were to try to lower it with the way how I'm seeing the strength coming in, rising, it'll be a challenge. And that's why I would like to, like I said, start improving and upgrading certain aspects of the facility as it ages.
Mayor, if I may, Isaac, do you have a capital cost that you're talking about, for those improvements that you just spoke of?
I would say, like I said, if we break it up year by year before prices start going up, I would say maybe 5 million, we could pretty much get the brunt of everything that we need. And that's what I'm hoping for. And if we can get Molson and Corbin or engineering firm just to do everything little by little and get it all on, like you said, the master plan, that would be great to tackle all those things within the next 5 years. Because I do see it catching up to us within the next 5 years.
Mayor, and the reason I bring that up is, and the dollar amount and then the cost is that, for these projects, we shouldn't be funding 100%. We should have a financial plan that's looking at the Clean Water Revolving Loan Fund or, the different grant opportunities out there. So if we're raising an additional 40%, just like we did on that groan, then that reduces our amount down from 5 million to 3. And then in addition to that, in the operational budget, we do have capital outlay built into his budget. So I think we can continue to consider those upgrades that are needed and continue to move forward with this type of planning of a suspension of the rate reduction.
Yeah, because the thing we don't want to do is suspend and then all of a sudden we have to raise the rates back up. That would be a downer.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
Isaac, you said the inflows were up.
No, the strength of the influent coming in, because before we were used to having that infiltration from the river.
Yeah,
So now, like I said, we're seeing a higher concentration coming in. Therefore, we are producing more solids and more compost at the facility that we will have to probably haul off to the landfill to get rid of, as we're accumulating a lot more. And we're having to waste way more to keep our level where we need to be in operation to meet our phosphorus and nitrogen.
yeah. What about the volume? Has that gone down without the infiltration?
It has.
Okay,
Our volume has gone down somewhat. I mean, I'm not gonna say a lot, but the concentration has come up. So it's almost like we're still, but we are, like I said, we're doing great on our filters. And I'm confident that we already met our 10-year life expectancy of them, and I'm actually gonna push them to even further than that, possibly 15 years. And we have been replacing them as we need them. And we're gonna start buying more cassettes now because their structures are starting to rot out. And but we already have 2 basins worth of them. And next budget, I'm also gonna buy more cassettes. We do have filters we've replaced almost all of them in the facility, but not all of them, about 50% of them. But like I said, in the next 5 years is when we're gonna really start to see major needs for infrastructure upgrades at the facility.
and it's not a done deal yet, but if you get solar out there, the initial savings that I saw was like 84,000 a year, so you'll be able to kick that back into filters or whatever.
Yes, sir, and I talked to Mr. Lyons the other day, and we did talk about meters and different things like that in that aspect, so he is working on that as we speak.
So in that capital, go ahead.
Oh, Mr. Mayor, when I looked at this originally, what caught my eye on the statement of revenue and expense was how the capital outlay had dropped tremendously, almost 50% year to year, which to me seemed unusual. It went from 33 to 18 to 7,000. As we sit here today, it sounds to me like we need to revisit that in terms of budget, especially with some of the changes that you're looking at down the road, which sounds to me like far above any preventive maintenance. It's more like innovation. And then again, I had the question about when you're looking at solar, I had a note, where exactly in this budget area are we looking at that as an expense, or is that something that's looking at more globally through the village?
Mayor, Counselor, for this particular project, oftentimes you take the utility costs that we have here and you use that to leverage bonds to fund those type of projects.
Okay.
So it's just taking money from one expense and moving it to the other. And that's where you see the savings that Counselor Cornelius was talking about. The utility cost.
So in your $5 million projection, was any of that have the picker in there, the pre-screening process?
That does, and that's give or take. It just depends on, like I say, the longer we wait, the more the prices are gonna go up. And that's why I would like to tackle it year by year and just start putting that infrastructure in. And that way, I think we'll be saving money in the long run. And that way we can start tackling other things that could possibly cost even more money if we don't do these upgrades that we speak of. Because then when we have those 2 other trains, like I said, we can divert most of the flow to those and take off the other part of the plant that has been running hard all this time. Because they didn't supply us with drains, so we would have to drain them all out, clean out all that stuff that's been accumulating for the past 10 years that we haven't been able to get into and service because of not having that leeway of having the 2 extra basins to divert flow to.
Okay. There'll be certainly a lot to discuss.
Yeah, but these fine screens are gonna be, once we get these fine screens in, it's gonna keep a lot of the junk that's coming in that is hurting our filters. That it's lessening the life of them right now, but once we get that upgraded, that'll be a good step forward in the way we need to be. because that'll keep a lot of the junk out that's coming in right now, settling in our process basins where our biological nitrogen and phosphorus is being removed.
Isaac, you've been talking about that same process for quite some time, so what's the process when you're gonna start working on that?
We would have to we would have to divert. We do have companies that can divert our flow, and we could drain them out and get that material out as best as we could, but it would mean taking off the lids from the outside. And that would bring in the safety issues that we would have to combat. That's why I thought if a contract company came in and did that for us, we wouldn't have to deal with any kind of safety grading or things that we would have to put up in order to service all those basins outside. Which will cost money, but I think that's the best idea, because when they come in, it's all on them and they clean them out, and we just pay them, and then we just get back up and running, and it should last another 10 years.
Mr. Mayor, Isaac or Manager Dodge, I'm trying to get my arms around that. I kind of get the idea of how it is to occur, and the caveats of safety behind that, but can you give us an idea? I think what you're asking for, and I may misspeak, is a timeline, and the other one is the expense. So is there a way we can dovetail those to come in with the report on what we're looking at?
Yeah, Mayor, I think what I need to do is sit down with Eric and Isaac and talk about the process of what they're looking at, because, that's what I'm saying is that it's been verbalized for the last 2 years that I've been here as a manager,
Right.
but I don't see any processes of follow through on those action items. So we need to sit down and come up with an improvement plan, come up with specific actions on how we're gonna put those processes into place.
I agree.
That sounds good.
We're all for you, Isaac. I just wanted,
Yeah,
I'm not trying to put your feet to the fire, but Christmas comes up once a year, so.
It has come quick, and like I say, by the time my career is done here, I would like to see it last another 10 years or 15 years. But remember, the life expectancy of a plant is 25 years, so, we're already kind of getting there. We're not completely halfway there, but we're getting there quick.
Thank you.
All right, and back to the options, Judy, the 7 options of repayment.
So at the time, we weren't sure if you all were going to want to pay off all the bonds. So he gave us other options if we paid off one issue and left the other one out, if we did 50%. So those other options were just other scenarios if you didn't choose 100% of defunding both issues. So those were just extra opportunities if we needed to change the calculation.
Mayor, what I'd recommend is that we come back with a recommendation on that, but, with the needs that Isaac is talking about, I would recommend that we also look at, right about $2 million out of general fund to go into this fund so that we can, up the, capital outlay that we're leaving in there from 5 million. It's the 2 that Judy set aside, 2.5 for, the FEMA projects, 2.5 for the filters. Add another 2 million to bring that to 7, so that Isaac does have some money to work with the upgrades that he's talking about.
And then, of course, this will all have to be at the Joint Use Board meeting. And it shouldn't affect the downs in any form, as long as we make sure the funding's there for these projects.
Well, they'll be getting their percentage of the money back too when we take ours out.
Mm-hmm.
So whether they spend it down there or not, we'll have to wait and see, but
Maybe they can spend it on the museum.
there you go.
So the Downs won't be helping with this project if we put money for the screens?
Well, that's what we're talking about. If we do a reduction on whatever, they would benefit from it too. But if anything that we're talking about, the cash balance would be, that he would be set aside for these projects once we understand what that number looks like and how it would proceed. And then Judy, go ahead.
So they would, if we would decide to, let's say that in 1 year we paid 500,000, they would pick up 15% of that 500,000. We would be only responsible for the 85.
Got it.
So I think we're just setting aside funds that if, in the future, if he was going to do that, we would have funds already available and we wouldn't have to come up through budget to try to do that.
I think it's really important to do this, though, if it would save the life for 10 years, we can talk and talk and talk, but let's go ahead and try to get this done.
Yes, sir.
Judy, if I remember right, the Downs finance theirs differently
Yes.
than ours. So are they in on this same deal, or do they have separate bonds that they're paying for?
So I know they do have some separate bonds. However, within the calculation that we charge them for the admin fee, they do pay $92,540 each year towards the debt service. And I think that was agreed upon sometime back when. And so if we paid off the debt, that $92,000 would go back to their credit.
Okay, but would this, if we pay this off completely, is their part paid off completely too? Or are we just giving somewhere in there, it may have been on those other sheets, it was showing that our 85% and their 15% of the overage.
So out of the whole debt service that we paid, they only pick up the $92,540 a year. So if we would pay that off, they wouldn't have to pay it.
But
So
they're
the-
going to keep paying it until such time.
Yes, until July 2023.
Okay.
Now, I don't know, they might have debt on their own set of books, but from what I can gather, that they had gotten some grants or something for their share of the debt, or I'm not exactly sure, but,
They did theirs through property tax, and I'm
Or
not
some-
sure if they got any colonious money or not. That was
yeah,
too long ago.
okay.
So are we gonna have to get them to agree to this in JUB? Or we're just gonna outvote them with 85%?
It's a YTD. I don't understand why they would be opposed to paying off debt.
I don't either.
And we're talking,
nother paragraph behind that.
Just to include them.
Mayor, councilors, we're only talking about our service charges that we charge, that they
Our
don't.
people, yeah, it won't affect them.
Yeah, we're just talking about our 85% of what we want to do with our cash.
Yep.
So I don't know why it would have to go to JAB unless you want to just let them know what we're
I was
doing.
talking about
Oh.
if we pull
Oh.
any money out of, if there's any of that JUB funding money that we've set aside already for capital, that once we start moving money there, I think it needs to be presented to JUB so the representatives understand it. But as far as what we're doing today, we don't need their approval. We're just talking about our citizens and ratepayers because we're on user fees. And they've adopted to keep theirs on property tax. And so,
But they'll still have debt.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
it's just
what I
our
wanted to know.
portion of it. Which if they default would, I guess, be back on our plate anyway, but
Well, then it's our plant if we,
it's already 85% your plant.
Yeah.
All right, thank you very much.
Thanks,
Mayor,
Isaac.
can I get some clarification on things? So I've been listening to the conversation, and when we're talking about our utility bills to the consumers, I believe there's two separate categories basically when it comes to this. One is repayment of the debt. The other is the operational or usage charges based on flows for the consumers. So when we talk about suspension, are we suspending a portion of the debt payment, or are we suspending a portion of the operational payment?
Of the operational payment of what the ratepayer pays.
no, but it's
Well,
on the
they're paying-
debt service. It's not on the monthly sewer charge.
It's on the debt service, not the consumption.
It's on the
Correct, okay.
$43.
Right, so the operational won't be won't be changed at all because
No.
you're still paying, you still have operational costs. Because I believe there was a comment about, what happens if we lower the rate and then we have to go back because it's costing more to operate. That's out of the question right now. What we're talking about is suspending a portion of the debt, portion of the bill to the consumer.
Yes.
And that
Okay.
shouldn't change, should it? If we, on the rate study, if we have to raise the rates, that'll be on the user fee, not on the debt service fee, the $40. So we wouldn't be raising that back up more than likely, unless we do big improvements.
That's correct, Counselor, but we would come back with a whole financial plan on how the rates would be structured. And oftentimes when you look at that type of rate structure, and looks like what occurred originally, but then you restructured your debt, and that's where you're getting the big savings after you restructured your debt. But originally, you start off with a master plan, and you look at your capital needs for 20 years out, and then you start to put together your financial plan that meets your current operational cost, and then your repair and your replacement for 20 years. And usually that's how they put a rate structure, and then normally it's visited every 5 years for changes. So, to get to your answer, yes, when we come back, we're going to be looking at that rate structure, and it may have some financial planning for long-term repair and replacement built into it at that time.
Which I think it should.
Yeah, it's kind of like on the water rates, all that needs to have maintenance and
Yeah.
improvements in the base fee.
The way that I see this whole situation is, you put together a master plan at one time, the village did. They did some restructuring of the debt, so they actually performed a lot better than what was proposed at the time of the original rate structure. So now you're in a position to give some relief back, reanalyze the situation, and then come back with a new master plan and rate study. But it puts you in an opportunity to give some relief to the citizens.
Is that clear as mud?
Well, it cleared my comment. Thank you. I appreciate it, Tim. Tim Coughlin.
I wasn't sure who made the comment, but the conversation just kept flowing, and it was like we were commingling the amount, because when we pay our bill, most of us don't look at it. We just pay the whole bill and go, oh man, we hear all the time, our water costs are ridiculous. We're paying $115 a month for water. Well, no, that includes a whole lot of other fees in there for solid waste and wastewater and so forth. So.
Right.
Okay. Anything else on that? Okay. All right, so is there anything else that we need to add?
Mayor, just on the last piece for clarification, do you want us to consider a general fund transfer to?
I would like to see all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to see whatever options that we can, because we're always, talking about how the improvements and the increases in revenue. And I would just like to see if that is out of general fund, then we look at all of it. But I mean, these are good discussions to have. I can remember when we didn't have these options, and I'm glad that we do. But before we go into closed session, is Adam still here? There he is. I got a nice little email today, and they want to inform me about an employee named James in the water department. And James called me, and I guess this would be with Toy, probably, and told me that he was reading our meter, and he thought we might have a slow water leak at our house. Our house is on Cibola Circle, and it's our second home. We had our neighbor check and found a slow leak on the outside faucet. We were able to have the faucet replaced and avoid any further water leak, costly to us, but also wasting water to our city. What an excellent employee, who we believe went above and beyond to call of duty. So I think this is practices that we've been putting in.
By Jeremy.
Huh?
Jeremy.
That's who she meant, Jeremy? Yeah, who's James?
Oh,
Okay, but anyway, that's awesome and operational and practice and things like that, because I do get calls like this. This is the first one I've gotten in a while that's an email. So it shows that things are working and that considerations are being met and that the public is understanding of it. And so we just need to keep talking about the things that we're doing on a day-to-day basis to help out. But again, you might let him know that these folks sent this in and that he is appreciated for doing his job good. So thank you very much.
Mayor, before you move into executive session, normally we go over the
Oh,
other
yeah.
items that are in public hearing.
Yep.
Yvonne, do you have those?
Okay.
So we have a request for a public hearing for amendments to Chapter 54, the definitions and district regulations. We have another request for public hearing for amendments to Chapter 54, and that's on multifamily dwellings. We will have a presentation by Zia Natural Gas on developing and integrating a resource plan. We're going to have a public hearing on a liquor license for 2408 Sudderth Drive, which is Downshift Brewing Company. And then we have an appeal to a planning commission decision to deny a conditional use request for an automobile service station. And then under regular items, we have the March election resolution.
You said Downshift Brewing Company at 24?
I think that is the, that Irish pub that was there
What?
before.
Jasper?
Jasper Riddle.
Irish pub
Oh,
across from
Grace O'Malley?
It was Grace O'Malley.
Grace
yeah.
O'Malley.
yeah, okay. Okay. All right.
That's it.
Yes, sir?
This may be to you, Samantha. If we schedule a public hearing on Chapter 54, that'll be for the November meeting. Are we gonna, we don't have anything, and the committee hadn't met again, are we gonna be able to meet that? Because I think you told me we're supposed to have a meeting the end of the month. I can't imagine it all being perfect and not having to have a rewrite.
This is not for the entire rewrite of Chapter 54. It's to update it for the cannabis, to reflect the Cannabis Regulation Act. And then the other one is for a request Councilor Eby had for a multifamily in R1, R2, and M1 and M2 districts.
Okay, so we're gonna start adopting these piece by piece?
For the urgent needs of those two, yes.
That's fine.
If you all choose to. But that's what I'll be presenting
Okay,
on.
thanks, because I didn't think we were ready.
No, we're not ready.
Okay. All right.
Mayor and council, in addition to that, is there any request for specific reports that you may want to see under the manager's report?
I don't have anything.
Karen's had quite a bit of movement on the bridges, so we can.
Yeah, I mean,
That
we
would be
can,
good.
yeah, we talked about that on the radio show Monday, if you want to talk about that. I can't think of
If
any.
there's anything else that you'd like me to highlight, just feel free to give me a call and we'll get
Yeah,
it.
and again, if you can, give us a quick update on the AOC thing, just so everybody's clear about how that's being postponed and, because I did have a lady that lives down here that had called.
You're talking about for the meeting?
Yeah, just in your manager's report, just give an update, because I see the responses back from the state, you know, on the AOC part of it.
Okay.
Anything else?
There's a lot going on, so if you have any additional questions.
Well, and I would like, if Rodney could talk to us about what's going on with the White Mountain Master Plan. I know there's been a little confusion. Did we have what was the meeting last night, yesterday evening?
It was just another steering committee meeting.
Yes, there's Rodney back there. And that was on the White Mountain, and so that was a steering committee?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
How did the meeting at the park go the other day on the 25th? Did you have some input for that committee?
Yeah, they did.
That was a public forum, and they had 60 people interact with them and provide comments.
Nice. Okay. Thanks, Rodney.
No, I think most of it was positive from some of the pickleballers that I talked to.
Yeah, it's all been positive.
That's,
So
that
how,
was 50 of them that commented on.
oh, yeah. So what about the school, the school's participation?
So the superintendent and Mark Beatty have been present at the majority of them. I think Dr. Bickert has only missed one of the steering committee meetings, and Mark has been present at all of them. However, I heard they did have one person provide some, I don't know if negative is the right word, but some feedback, and it was a school board member who's not on the committee.
Right.
And so I think we need to have a discussion with the school just to make sure we're on the same page.
Have they ever talked about an MOU?
So no one.
Contract,
Right.
not necessarily an MOU, but a contract, like a 50-year contract, because, with this master plan, there's some school property involved in this.
It was, the first time it's been brought to my attention was from Mr. Beatty yesterday.
Okay.
And so that's something that I would want to bring up to you all and discuss. I think I'll schedule one of the meetings that's supposed to be going on with the MOU, and we'll have that discussion and see if there's any
I think what
interest.
we need to do is get back together with our committee, Rodney.
Right.
That works with the schools and council. We can get that meeting set up and talk about that.
Yeah,
That would be good.
I think
It's been a while since we met internally,
Yes.
so let's set that up, Rodney, and meet internally on that issue.
Rodney, I was going to ask you, we've been working with the schools because they're doing their facility master plan, I believe now. And as our engineers or site plan developers looking at their crew as well, or communicating with them?
I'm not sure that where the school is in their process. I know that it has been brought up multiple times that they were supposed to be initiating that.
Right.
Again, Dr. Bicker and Mark have been present at both meetings. I did end up missing the last one, so I don't know if it was brought up, but I'll follow up on that and see where they're at in their process. And it was part of their the contract with Groundwork Studios to be doing that.
Thanks.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, all right, thank you very much. And before we go into closed session, I've just received an invitation from ENMU that anyone that would like to do a walkthrough of ENMU and talk about, they're calling it their Nexus Project Phase 3. But anyway, they're going to be talking about changing the exterior building. So if any of you guys want to get with me on a date, I'll text her back or email her back, and they'll set up so we can do a walkthrough on that. So if y'all want to after the meeting, we'll get together real quick. Okay, anything else? Vaughn? Okay, then at this point, I need a motion to go into closed session.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we go into closed session for discussion of limited personnel matters citing statute 1015-1H2, NMSA 1978. Item 2, discussion subject to the attorney-client privilege pertaining to threatened or pending litigation in which the Village of Ruidoso is or may become a participant, citing statute 1015-1H7, NMSA 1978. And finally, discussion of the purchase, acquisition, and/or disposal of real property and/or water rights by the Village of Ruidoso, citing statute 1015-1H8, NMSA 1978, Any action taken as a result of the closed session will be brought back into open session.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please, Yvonne.
Counselor Jackson?
Aye.
Counselor Eby?
Aye.
Counselor Letterman?
Aye.
Counselor Salas?
Aye.
Counselor Cornelius?
Aye.
Counselor Coughlin?
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much. So Coughlin, are you still there?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
And Lawrence can stay in, and then also we got Zach on the line.
Oh, Zach's on the line?